Good afternoon, dear friends. We continue to analyze what's happening at the front with you every day. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and give a like so more people can learn the truth. Now, let's move on to a review of the front. Let's open the map. So, friends, the situation at the front remains the same. It's still bad for the Ukrainian armed forces and relatively stable progress for the Russian army. The day before yesterday, Russian forces took control of just over 20 square kilometers, and yesterday, the progress was a bit more modest, 14.6 square kilometers. Nevertheless, Ukraine is consistently losing more than 10 square kilometers of territory every day. And despite this, Zelensky still doesn't seem particularly eager to start negotiations. Where's the logic? Well, it seems to be absent. Let's begin with the southern front and then move north. Today, there have been some very interesting developments, not just advances but breakthroughs in some areas, and we'll discuss them in detail. Let's start with the area near Velika Novosilka. Everything is proceeding as expected here. Russian forces spent a few days consolidating their positions and taking a short pause for recovery before continuing their offensive actions. As you can see, the advance is coming from 2 points. From Vovka to the northwest and from Velika Novosilka also to the northwest. You know, after the AFU lost Velika Novosilka, I clearly remember what was being written on Ukrainian telegram channels. Do you know what they said? No big deal, the Russians have trapped themselves. They'll now be under artillery fire from the heights, we'll destroy them, and so on. Well, how did this anti-crisis strategy work out? Not at all. Look at this. From Verka, the advance has been about 1.7 kilometers. Also, from Velika Novosilka, this section up to the river and even the heights beyond it is now under Russian control. So, the plan to destroy Russian soldiers from the heights failed because the AFU couldn't hold onto those heights. As a result, this entire section up to the river is under Russian control, along with at least part of the heights. What happens next? The next step is to advance towards Novo-Shatro, bypassing the river. Russian forces are already near Novo-Shatro, but crossing the river hasn't been possible yet, though several attempts have been made. Currently, a bypass of the river is underway, and the advance will lead directly to Novo-Shatro. After that, as we've already mentioned, the goal is to continue through the cascade of villages up to the Zaporizhzhia-Kurakovo highway. Let's continue. There has been some modest progress in the direction of Rosly village. The advance here has been about 1.5 kilometers, and now there's just over 2 kilometers to go before reaching the village itself. Additionally, the situation in Dnipropetrovsk, the village just west of Kurakovo, is developing rapidly. Yesterday, Russian forces, specifically soldiers from the 102nd Motorized Rifle Regiment, made a breakthrough from the northern and eastern parts of the village into the center. I posted a video of the fighting in Dnipropetrovsk center on my Telegram channel. For those interested, you can find the link to my channel in the video description. There, you'll find a lot of interesting content, including battle footage from Velika Novosilka, prisoners, casualties, and details about the advances, so be sure to check it out and subscribe. Now, back to Dnipropetrovsk. Fighting is ongoing in the center of the village, and the AFU is only holding positions on. The western outskirts, according to their own reports, now hold only about 10% of the initial garrison. In addition to Dachin itself, Russian forces have advanced southward through the woods with the goal of moving parallel and getting into the AFU's rear from the west. Now, moving on to the most important and interesting news of the day, an extremely significant event has taken place. Russian forces have begun moving from Nadsdinka toward Kotlyariva, and this information is confirmed by Ukrainian sources as well. They state that the Russians will likely reach Kotlyariva very quickly. And you know what? There are no obstacles here, no fortifications, no concrete bunkers, nothing. Just open fields all the way to the village. Of course, open fields can still pose challenges, as they can be targeted by drone and artillery fire. However, over the years of conflict, Russian forces have gained experience in overcoming such obstacles. Ukrainian analysts agree that these 5 kilometers will be covered quickly, and this is crucial. It's significant because even Ukrainian sources, who would never exaggerate Russian successes, are confirming this. Right now, Russian forces are advancing from Nadezhdinka toward Kotlyariva, and they will undoubtedly reach it. But then what? Kotlyariva is a small village with a pre-war population of just 90 people. It won't be able to hold off Russian forces for long, simply because it has just a few streets. From Kotlyariva, it's just a short distance to the Dnipropetrovsk region, just a few kilometers. And not only to Dnipropetrovsk but also to Novopavlivka, which is just a few kilometers away, with no significant obstacles in the way. Novopavlivka is an important logistical hub in the Dnipropetrovsk region. So, it's possible that Russia's push into the region will come from this area rather than from Yudakny, even though Yudakny is currently closer. There has also been some progress by Russian forces. Despite all the counterattacks from the Ukrainian armed forces, the advance continues. According to reports, Russian units have taken control of the railway station. But more interestingly, Russian forces are now almost at the western outskirts of Yudakny. Yesterday, there was an attempt to break through to these outskirts. It wasn't successful, but it's clear that such attempts will continue. The goal here is to flank the AFU garrison in Yudakny, forcing them to retreat to the mine in the north. The mine is just over a kilometer away from these positions, so decisive battles for this large area are coming soon. Things aren't looking good for the AFU here either. Russian forces advanced 1.5 kilometers yesterday, reaching the outskirts of Vodian II. This led to the consolidation and clearing of an area of 4.5 square kilometers. Moving over here, there were new attempts to enter Yevanivka, but it's still unclear whether they were successful. Last time, Russian forces were able to enter the village but couldn't hold it. In the Tet area, after clearing the city center, in addition to taking control of the Tet mine, the Russian-controlled zone has expanded beyond the city. As you can see, this entire northern area is now under Russian control, along with most of Kamianka and Dnipropetrovsk. Fighting continues at the mine, but a decisive moment has not yet arrived. We discussed this area yesterday. Over the past 24 hours, there has been little change. The advance toward Shevchenko is continuing, and efforts are being made to clear the southern pocket and connect positions to completely block AFU forces still holding the central multi-story buildings. Assaults on these buildings are ongoing. As you can see, over the past 24 hours, a large number of geolocations have been published. Apparently, the warm weather has brought not only mud but also clearer skies, allowing for increased aerial activity and intensified drone operations. We are seeing a large number of geolocated drone strikes on Ukrainian positions, both in the border areas of Sumy region and in the settlement of Staryi Liev. Strikes are also hitting the settlement of Martinka, and FAB bombs are being regularly deployed. This sector is witnessing the highest level of activity, and this heightened intensity has been ongoing for several days. I wish you a good day and see you soon.